You believe you are the author of your thoughts, but most of the time, you are merely their captive audience. We walk through life convinced that we are in charge of our internal world, yet a single uninvited memory, a sudden pang of anxiety, or a fabricated future scenario can hijack our peace in an instant. Today, we will dismantle the illusion of this mental ownership. You will discover how to stop reacting to the endless, chaotic noise within your own head and begin to reclaim the only true domain of freedom you possess, which is your mind itself. The profound philosophical tragedy of human existence is that we are imprisoned by a jailer we cannot see, because the jailer is us. We assume that because a thought occurs inside our head, it must be true, it must be urgent, and it must be acted upon. But the mind is primarily an instrument of survival, not an instrument of peace. It is evolutionarily designed to scan the horizon for threats, to remember past pain, and to anticipate future disaster to keep us alive. If you pause and observe, you will see this ancient mechanism operating in your modern life. You wake up perfectly safe in a warm bed, yet your heart races as your mind aggressively constructs a detailed narrative of a project failing, a relationship ending, or an uncomfortable conversation you must have later in the day. You are physically secure, but psychologically under siege. The mind uses the body's alarm system to fight ghosts that do not exist anywhere except in the theater of your imagination. Yet, there is a liberating conceptual shift that can break this cycle. You must realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness observing them. Just as the heart is an organ that pumps blood, the brain is an organ that secretes thoughts. You do not identify with every beat of your heart, so why must you identify with every erratic creation of your mind? To witness a thought without absorbing it is the dawn of true philosophical maturity. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. This ancient Stoic observation remains the hardest truth of our daily lives. The external world provides the facts, but our mind provides the suffering. The event itself is entirely neutral. It is merely our interpretation that injects it with poison. Consider the simple act of standing in a violently delayed queue or sitting in gridlock traffic. The physical reality is nothing more than your body occupying a space for a longer duration than anticipated. That is the fact, but the mind immediately orchestrates a symphony of distress. It tells you that your time is being stolen, that this is an intolerable injustice, that everything is ruined. The rising anger, the tightened jaw, the overwhelming impatience, none of this is caused by the traffic. It is entirely manufactured by the commentary your mind has layered over the traffic. To fight the mind, however, is to empower it. This is another vital reversal of how we normally operate. When we feel a dark thought or an anxious tremor, our instinct is to suppress it, to violently push it away. But trying to banish a thought requires you to constantly hold out your hands to wrestle with it. The harder you fight the storm, the more you become entangled in its winds. True control is never born from suppression. True control is observation without participation. It is allowing a terrifying thought to enter the room, offering it a seat, and refusing to converse with it until it gets bored and leaves. Before we transition into the active pursuit of taking back your internal sovereignty, if this journey into self-mastery resonates with you, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a thoughtful comment beneath this video about your own experiences. Let us continue to build a community grounded in reflection and calm wisdom. If the mind is a relentless commentator constantly trying to rewrite reality, how do we step out of the audience and take the director's chair? The answer begins with fundamentally redefining what freedom actually means. Freedom is not the absence of negative emotions. It is the absolute refusal to be commanded by them. We spend our lives chasing a state of perpetual calm, a utopian existence where fear, doubt, and sorrow never breach the gates of our consciousness. We think that if we just arrange our external lives perfectly with the right job, the right partner, and the right income, our internal world will finally fall silent. But deep reflection reveals that building a fortress out of external circumstance, imagine you are facing a massive leap in your life, perhaps a career change or a vastly difficult confrontation. Your mind will flood your system with anxiety. Your hands may tremble, your chest may tighten. The modern obsession is to wait for the fear to pass before taking action, to wait for a moment of complete, unshakable confidence. But practical philosophy teaches us to act while the hands are trembling. You do not need the mind to agree with your decision in order to make it. You can carry your fear intimately with you, acknowledging its heavy presence, while still choosing to step forward. This brings us to a profound distinction. Pain is an inevitable companion in life, but distress is entirely a choice. We constantly conflate the two. Pain is the loss of a loved one, the failure of a grand endeavor, the physical deterioration of the body over time. Distress, however, is the mind screaming that this pain is unfair, that life should be different, that you are uniquely cursed entirely. You cannot control the fluctuations of the global economy, the shifting opinions of your peers, or the inevitable betrayals that accompany human connection. To try to control these chaotic variables is a recipe for madness. But your response to these uncontrollables is an impenetrable fortress, provided you consciously choose to defend it. When someone undermines you in a professional setting or offers a stinging personal insult, the undisciplined mind instantly demands vengeance or cowers in profound shame. It begs you to react impulsively, to lash out, or to shrink into yourself. But between their action and your reaction, there's a fraction of a second of pure, empty space. In that invisible pause, your entire character is forged. By widening that space, by absorbing the insult and calmly choosing to let it fall to the floor rather than picking it up, you strip the aggressor of their power and reclaim your own. You realize that your soul cannot be fundamentally harmed by the words of another, unless you are the one who hands them the knife. What if we radically inverted our view of adversity? What if the obstacles your mind creates, the frustrations it magnifies, and the fears it generates are not blocking your path, but are actually becoming your path? Every time the mind attempts to drag you into despair, it is providing the exact resistance you need to train your capacity for calm. The anxiety is the weight you must lift. The sudden frustration is the fire that tempers your lifelong patience. Inner peace, therefore, is not a passive, lethargic state of resting while life passes by. It is the highest, most rigorous form of intellectual discipline. It requires constant, quiet vigilance. It demands that you stand as the unwavering guardian at the gates of your own perception, carefully inspecting every thought that asks for entry and gently turning away the ones that come dressed in the armor of panic and destruction. To control your mind is to realize that you do not have to conquer the violent outside world to quiet sanctuary. The world will always be loud, chaotic, and relentlessly unpredictable. Do not ask the world to be quiet so you can find peace. Learn to be the quiet center within the noise. You are not the servant of the storm. You are the vast, untouchable sky in which it simply blows away.